So the way I kind of see it is the right is a meritocracy and the left is a command economy. It makes perfect sense. That's the policy they want. It's the government they want. And the right tends to be, if the idea is good, it goes viral. And so the right has this advantage on the internet in that virality among right-wing memes only happens if everyone agrees. And it's not like there's no vote, there's no argument. It's quite literally you make the meme and do enough people think it's good.
You know what? That is really interesting because you're basically throwing your meme out there to be voted on.
Right.
You're like, what do you think about this? Do you think this is true? Does everybody agree with this? Does everyone want to argue with this? Because I like doing that. I'll post memes sometimes. I'm like, I want to see what people say about this.
But if it's funny, you'll share it.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I shared this one meme where it's the guy from the DNC dancing. Mm-hmm. And then the comment on YouTube says, we're going to lose, aren't we? It's perfect. it's the perfect of this feeling everybody's kind of having, these Democrats, like you're watching the Democrats wake up to how cringy it is. I decided to share that out of all the memes.
Right.
So this one is getting a ton of traction because it resonates with people. It shares an idea. On the left, they don't do this, and that's why they struggle to meme, because someone has to tell them what is acceptable. Yeah. Otherwise, they'll get canceled.
You're right.
So it's all kind of a mix, a mission. It's not just one thing though. It's like yin yang. It's these two different schools. The right doesn't care about being offensive because if they are, the idea just disappears and no one shares it. If it truly does bother the greater hive, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because let's say you have 100 people and they're, independent, internet-based, right-wing, moderate, anti-SJW, whatever this weird group of people is, someone could post something and it could be just offensive to any human and no one in their group cares to share it. Or it could be a really funny joke from Dave Chappelle or Family Guy or something, and they all start sharing it and laughing. Then as soon as it reaches people on the left, they look at it and look around, what should I say or do? And they wait for their priests or authorities to confirm, hey, look at this thing, it's funny. That's why you always see the same exact memes shared by the left, like that XKCD comic on free speech.
Oh my gosh.
For those that don't know, it's this one where it's a comic that conflates free speech with the First Amendment. It's just so wrong. Or the one by that guy where it's a dude popping out of a well saying, there's like a peasant saying we should improve society. And he goes, yet you live in society. Ho ho. And that's the only ideas they share are the approved ideas that everyone else is sharing. Whereas you go on the right and it's like I often mention, I think one of the best examples is gay married Dave Rubin hanging out with Orthodox Jew Ben Shapiro.
Yep.
Clearly they don't agree, but they agree enough that we're people, we get along, we have to learn to live together. And so ultimately going back to this poll, I think it's actually really fascinating how much I've been able to milk this one tweet into this longer conversation.
No, it's a really good conversation.
But I think I kind of just figured something out,
Oh yeah?
Well, yeah, it's just exactly what I said. A leftist posted a poll that should have, for every reason, shown QAnon to be more dangerous than Antifa.
Yeah.
But it was Antifa. So that says one or two things. Maybe her followers really did think Antifa was more dangerous. I doubt it. Or they don't care enough to actually share it unless prompted by an authority figure. And she doesn't have the authority. She's not a big brand. She's not a Democratic politician. She's not a high-profile social justice warrior or anything like that. She's a low-profile one. But on the right, if it's funny, they'll share it, and everyone agreed, vote Antifa.
And the only reason it went viral was because right-wing people did think that it was funny. That is interesting. It makes me wonder a little bit how many times left-wing people look at memes from left or right and think, you know what, that's really funny. I'm not going to share it, but it's really funny and I like it. You don't think they do?
No, I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I think one thing that separates
they're memes.
Yeah, but we think they're funny. So look, why is it that someone like me who could be a liberal my whole life, I mean, I was far left when I was younger. I wrote a bunch of anti-government, anti-war songs and stuff when I was a teenager, listened to all this punk rock stuff. How did I then become liberal? And now here I am, I hang out with people across the spectrum. I have friends who are far left. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. But no, now I'm looking at the election and I'm like, I think for these reasons, I got to vote for Trump. A lot of the reasons that Jack Murphy pointed out. How does that happen? It's very simple. I have a sense of humor.
Right.
They don't.
I wonder what it is that makes a sense of humor. And I've thought a lot about this because I think it requires a lot more humility than they can have. And I think their religion makes them so stiff that they can't bend in any way. Otherwise, they just absolutely shatter.
It wasn't this the moral authoritarian Christian right?
This used to be the right wing in the 90s. And I remember thinking that it was boring because it was. And it was kind of repressive and sad. And I didn't really like it.
And then something happened, and all of a sudden along comes, Ben Shapiro. And all these videos start popping up on YouTube where it's like, Ben Shapiro destroys, college leftists with facts and logic. And it was hilarious. And it was a meme, and he laughs at it.
And the funniest thing to me about Ben Shapiro is that he is super buttoned up, and even he can laugh at this stuff. He thinks it's funny. He's like, yes, make fun of me for telling you that my wife's a doctor, because they both worked really hard for that, and they have 3 kids and everything. Like, that's some hard work.
I think
to them.
There are some people in the anti-SJW space who can't take a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Who get super offended.
Oh, yeah.
But like I said before, it's like inverse proportions. For out of 10 people, 2 people on the Trump side can't take a joke, but 8 can. On the left, 2 people can take a joke, 8 can't. So I often explain this to people. You go to a Trump rally, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is someone's going to insult you. Like if you come in there and you bring anger and animosity, I mean, you can start a fight. I just don't see it happening. If you insult somebody or make a joke and mock Trump, people are probably just going to be like, I don't know, whatever, and they're going to ignore you. You go to a left-wing counter-protest, and you even resemble anything. So there was somebody at one event who was wearing a red hat, because they make the MAGA hats, but they're parodies.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that.
Somebody got attacked.
Yeah.
Because yeah. It was I'm forgetting the name. It wasn't. Where was this? I can't remember. Okay, I thought I was gonna remember. It was in Berkeley. Somebody wore a red hat that said "Make Bitcoin Great Again."
Yeah. I remember that. That was when that lady was attacked. That was why she got attacked, because she was wearing a red hat with white writing.
That's it.
Dude. That's all it takes.
Yeah, it's really funny because I've seen some of these leftists wear hats that say "Make America Gay Again."
Right.
And I thought to myself, I saw this. They're gonna attack you for that. When I was in San Jose, this is a really crazy story. We had Carrie Smith on just a couple days ago. She's a liberal voting for Trump. One of the things that changed her mind was she watched a video of a guy getting whacked in the back of the head with a bag. I actually filmed that.
So weird.
Yeah,
weird.
But at that event, there was a man who got punched in the mouth, like in his face. He was bleeding from his mouth. They just thought he was a Trump supporter, and he was with the riot.
Wow.
So they just, the others, you're under fire, you're under attack. But anyway, more to the point about a sense of humor. I watch Donald Trump at his rallies.
Yeah.
And I am a mature adult with critical thinking abilities, and I see him make a joke, self-deprecating, and I laugh along with everybody else. And my answer is, being a funny entertainer does not change my mind on political opinion. At this point, however, things are so messed up. I certainly would never want Biden or Harris or whatever, and Trump has done better things. But I've never had a problem. That's probably why So some people try to argue I have Trump derangement syndrome, and it's the stupidest. I think it's the stupidest thing ever, because I'm just, there's some things I've been critical of, but I think he's pretty much improved greatly in the past year or so. But I think one of the reasons why I would personally say I don't, and why I don't care that much, is just because I have a sense of humor.
Right.
They don't. I think it might. I think a sense of humor may actually be a symptom. Maybe it's critical thinking ability. Or confidence, maturity.
I think it is. And like I was saying, I think that it is humility, and it's a little bit of self-reflection, and you have to be okay with not being perfect. Because like they say, if you laugh at yourself, like Donald Trump does, you will never run out of material, and you'll never be bored either. And I think that watching a politician who has a sense of humor about themselves is refreshing to people, because you watch people like Lori Lightfoot and Bill de Blasio, and and Andrew Cuomo just looks like he hates his job.
They won't ever take responsibility for anything.
Right.
And then they complain Trump doesn't. And for the most part, Trump doesn't. I would say for the most part, but there is a difference. He doesn't go as hard as they do. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend, that I'm some raging Trump supporter. I'm not. I don't think he's perfect. I think even a lot of Trump supporters recognize that for sure. But I've watched Trump make fun of himself for being orange.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I went to the White House for that social media summit, And I thought it was going to be like a roundtable sit down talking about serious problems in Silicon Valley. And I was actually asked what I hope to bring. And I said, a lot of conservatives feel that they are, the only people being targeted in this way. And I want to add, there's anti-establishment leftists who also, it's a lot less of them. It's predominantly conservative, but I want to make sure I can represent the former Occupy people. That a bunch of them got banned. There was like one day where 50 accounts just got purged for no reason.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's some anti-war accounts that have been purged as well. And so I was like, I want to make sure I can be fair and represent this in a way that can allow us to actually, accurately talk about what's going on. Instead, it was Donald Trump doing stand-up. I'm not kidding.
It's like a mini rally.
It was stand-up.
Yeah.
It was brilliant stand-up. Everybody was laughing the whole time. He was self-deprecating, and it really tears down a lot of the things they say about him when he addresses it in a humorous way. Like when that one thing where he was like, the lights in here, they're making me look orange.
I don't know what's going on.
Everybody had laughed about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So did it change your perspective of him to go and listen to him talk about himself in that way?
I've been at Trump rallies since he started running.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
When I worked for Fusion, I went to several dozen Trump rallies. And this is probably something else that, inoculated me from Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe the most severe case. Maybe I was overly critical in the past, whatever. But I met a bunch of Trump supporters. I remember I was in Florida. It was like Fort Lauderdale. And I was talking to this middle-aged woman. She said she never voted before. She was not registered with any party. She was independent. But Trump was talking about things she cared about. And she felt like it was anti-establishment. It was finally somebody who was talking back to the machine. It's interesting because there's similarities in the woke left and the right in terms of what they want focused on. Perhaps it's an issue of being right or wrong. Like the tactic is neutral, but the assumption. So what I mean to say is the left will tell you you can't succeed because the color of your skin, because of your identity. Donald Trump will tell you you can't succeed because the billionaire owners of the auto factory moved that plant to China because a bunch of politicians came in and they say no more. We know all of that because we experienced them do it. So you could probably say something like, if your factory it leaves your area, then you need to figure out how to start a factory, which is, I'm playing devil's advocate. Like,
yeah.
Why don't you go build your own factory?
Build your own, yeah.
But for these people, there was a specific issue that legitimately impacted the economy, and Trump, he proved it. He started doing, tariffs. He started securing the borders. He started dealing with immigration. All of a sudden, unemployment was dropping. Factories were coming back. This was all part of his plan. The economy was booming. These people voted for him because he said, here's the problem. And a bunch of them said, yes, we quite literally witnessed that thing happen, and this policy could change that. The left just says, a multimillionaire black woman has less privilege than a homeless white man, which is nonsensical and subjective, moralistic, and irrelevant to policy.
Yeah, I have always kind of noticed this about him. And for all of the times I've facepalmed over something that he's tweeted, I have never ever felt like he did not care what happened to American workers. Watching him actually engage, he is not the politician who goes and engages in fights with people who are supposed to be supporting him. That baffled me about Joe Biden. Like watching him mix it up with those blue collar workers in the factories. Fat. Yeah, look fat. I see why your wife left you. What are you talking about?
He doesn't want to win.
I don't think he does. And watching Trump actually engage, it's like, he seems to care. He really does.
I have a really funny idea.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I would love to do some sketches. We're going to have, I don't know if you guys know who Ryan Long is. You should know who he is. He's a very funny comedian.
Yes.
He's going to be hanging out here next week at some point. But I'm just imagining Joe Biden is behind the scenes talking crystal clear. And he's like, he's having a beer. And then he looks at his watch and he's like, oh, I got to go on. And then he jams cotton in his mouth to purposefully cause himself to slur. And then he goes out there and he purposefully just gaffes everything and fumbles. And then when he goes back behind stage, once it's all over, he just looks at his friends and they all start laughing maniacally. Like, yeah, it's all a bit. They're just trying to lose. He's insulting his own supporters. My favorite is that he's told multiple people not to vote for him.
Yes.
What?
That's his crowning achievement thus far.
When my favorite was the guy who was trying to support him. He was like, I see what I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, I see what you're saying, but, if you don't want to do this, what do you say to these people? And he goes, then vote for Trump. And the guy goes, no, I don't want to vote for Trump. I'm asking you a question. No, you go vote for Trump. Like,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, I guess I will.
I can't believe that he did that, man.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I'm feeling CNN poll came out.
Yeah.
15 battleground states, Trump's at 1 point behind Biden.
My goodness.
And the margin of error is 4 points.
That is quite the gap that he closed over the last 4 days. What happened the last 4 days?
Well, there's two big things.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, she is unlikable.
Yep.
Though CNN says, 54%, or I think it's 53% approve of the choice, and it's like, I guess 47% didn't.
Yeah.
Right, so how many votes are you going to lose?
Glass half full,
but,
man.
But sure, okay, I guess, just over half support it. She takes the majority, but she's unlikable. That shouldn't raise Donald Trump's approval rating, but it should close the presidential polling gap between who you're going to vote for. So that makes sense. But for Donald Trump's approval rating, recently spiked, according to Rasmussen, to 51%. And with a disapproval of 47%. Keeping in mind, it's only one poll, so this could just be static. However, Rasmussen was correct in 2016. I always try to preface this. I think it has to do with this massive ad buy Trump did.
You don't think it's because of the DNC? That's what I was thinking.
Not approval rating.
Oh, yeah?
Closing. So it wouldn't make sense that people would be like, Joe Biden is stupid, therefore I like Trump again. Or now I like Trump. What would make sense is that when you ask someone who you're going to vote for, and they say Joe Biden, someone else says Donald Trump, you get, Joe Biden a 14-point lead. Then you show them the DNC, and then they come back and go, can I change my vote?
Yeah, I'm going to revise my options.
Right, that closes the gap, not because they approve of Trump, but they prefer him. However, Trump's approval rating recently spiked, just according to Rasmussen. I think this is because of the major ad buy. What would make people say, I like Trump? They saw an ad from Trump about Joe Biden, and they went, wow, I didn't know that.
Right.
And, of course, the media is going to claim he's lying and none of it's true, whatever. Yeah, you know what, man? I can't believe Trump recently came with that Goodyear thing that happened with the boycott.
Yeah,
Trump
crazy.
said, don't buy it. Then there was leaked audio. It's a crazy story. But I see this friend I have on Facebook, and he just posts in response to Trump's post. He's like, I'm going to go buy Goodyear now. And I'm like, is that your life? If Trump says it, you do the opposite. That's all you do.
Well, that's been working for the DNC, hasn't it?
Well, maybe, but
no, it
maybe
hasn't.
Right. I think when you look at the polls, if you take it all at face value and believe the journalists, then sure. But I don't think so.
I don't buy it.
Nah, not with the riots anymore. Not with the all these people buying guns.
Yeah.
You have to convince me that all of these liberals who went out and bought guns, and they did in urban areas in like New York and LA, they went out and bought guns, that all of a sudden they're holding the weapon in their hands, and then the Democrat goes on TV and says ban all guns. They go, okay, I just bought it, but sure, I'm gonna give it back now.
Yeah, let me get rid of the thing that I thought would protect me and my family when someone told me I couldn't have, security around my house.
It was luxury. Before the riots, before COVID, people were like, yeah, the cops take care of it. Yeah, it was a golden age. It was, I'm guilty of it too. I'm not worried. We got a local police department. The cops over there are really cool. I talk to them periodically. I think they're great and got nothing to worry about. And then the chaos happened, and I'm like, I'm going to go buy some guns and, try to protect myself and take care of myself. And now, it's kind of been, Crowder asked me, Steven Crowder, he said, would you now, something like this, would you now recognize that any law that would curtail your right to own those guns is a bad law? And I'm like, yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah, when I didn't think I needed it, when I had the luxury and the privilege. Now, keeping in mind, one of the reasons I liked Bernie in 2016 is that he said, the divide between gun owners and those calling for gun control is urban versus rural.
I thought that was really interesting.
He used to be on the level, but I guess he sold out.
And I think that he was right about that, because people who live way outside of cities, they have legitimate reasons for wanting a gun. Like I was reading about Texas, where these gigantic pigs would just run through people's yards when their kids were playing.
Yeah.
You want to ask why you need an automatic weapon? Well, if you have 30 peccaries running through your yard.
I don't know about
I'm just saying.
I don't know about automatic.
A big weapon, bigger than anyone in a city would dream of needing.
Yeah, you want to make sure that wild animal, because some people, Chicago has coyotes.
Yeah, I know.
They'll eat your dog. Yeah, they'll eat your cats.
Coyotes are awful.
Yep. Yeah, so I remember there was that viral story about 30 to 50 feral hogs?
Yes.
And then all these leftists started making fun of them. And it was really funny. You see this happen quite a bit with urban liberals who think they're so much smarter than everyone else. They think if you live on a farm and you have a feral pig problem, you're a dumb hick. So they made fun of the guy. Turns out 30 to 50 or whatever the meme was is quite a bit. But there is an issue where there are wild animals and you'll need to defend your family, your property, your chickens. Dude, I had chickens in Miami and I'm really angry because they kept getting killed. And I feel really bad about it because it was my responsibility and I thought I did everything right. We actually had a caged area, but the I don't know what it was. I think it was some dogs found their way in.
Yeah.
So we ended up, we didn't know what it was. It turns out it was the neighbors, the next house over. They had a dog, and it had a gang, had other dogs. So we set up a trap by the chickens, and sure enough, like an hour after I put it up in the middle of the day, we hear the clank, and my brother's like, dude, there's a dog in the trap. And I was like, what? I walked over and the dog was snarling and I talked him down and then I let him out. And I was like, I wasn't trying to catch it. I thought it was going to be like some badger or some kind of crazy critter or something. So then when the dog ran out, I followed it, went to the neighbors and I was like, y'all owe me some chickens.
Yeah, seriously.
So I didn't know what the appropriate way to deal with the dog was. I'm not going to shoot a dog. You know what I mean?
A dog's a little bit different. We had a bunch of skunks that would used to come through and eat our chickens. So we would trap them.
Skunks would eat your chickens?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
anything will eat a chicken that can get to them. Like it's a serious delicacy. Like it's not something that they're just going to let go by.
I love those chickens. Those are my friends. I'm mad.
I love them because they were my first job. I raised them and I sold their eggs. I was 10 years old and I had a little bucket full of money that I had earned from them. They were very important to me.
But you could get foxes, whatever.
Yeah.
And so there's a divide there. And I've always been, kind of aware of that, especially when I lived on that farm in Miami. And I would try and talk to my liberal friends about, I had a friend say, there's literally no reason anyone should ever need a gun. And I was just like, that's just not true.
That is simply
not true. And I would tell the stories, about protecting yourself.
Yeah, well, we haven't even touched on the topic of how long it takes the cops to get to your house because where I lived, there wasn't a police department. There was a fire department, and we were about 15 minutes from the city, about 8 miles or something. I don't remember what exactly it was. There weren't any cops. So if someone breaks into your house in the middle of the night, you got to deal with things your own way. You might not have much of a choice if it's somebody really crazy.
What's funny, too, about, like, Lori Lightfoot saying, we need federal gun laws. What if they break in with a knife or a sword or a machete?
Yeah.
So your gun is banned? You're going to sword fight the guy?
Well, this is what happened in London. They have very strict gun laws and they don't have a lot of gun crime, but they do have a lot of knife crime. And people get stabbed in the streets all the time. So you think self-defense is important anywhere. And Lori Lightfoot knows it. And this is why she has protection.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. If you want to catch the full show, tune in to this channel, subscribe, hit the like button, or check us out on iTunes and Spotify. And we will soon have this podcast up for free on all podcast platforms. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all in the next episode.